Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Hold on to your purple and gold, Vikings faithful, because the 2026 free agency period is entering its third wave, and the Minnesota Vikings front office is sitting quietly in the shadows like a patient predator, waiting to pounce on some of the most undervalued talent left on the open market. While the rest of the NFL world is busy talking about the blockbuster signings and the splashy trades that dominated the early waves of free agency, the Vikings are doing what smart organizations do when the dust settles and the bargain bin opens up for business. They are hunting, they are calculating, and based on what we know right now, they might be about to put together one of the most quietly brilliant off-season hauls we have seen in recent memory. Let us set the scene for you. Wave 1 and Wave 2 of free agency were not exactly fireworks shows for Minnesota. The Vikings watched other teams throw obscene money at players while they sat on their hands, which had Vikings fans everywhere pulling their hair out and screaming into the void of social media. But here is the thing about the Vikings organization that a lot of people seem to forget when they are busy panicking every March. This team has a history of finding diamonds in the rough, of identifying players that other franchises have overlooked or undervalued, and squeezing every last drop of production out of them. And right now, the free agent market is sitting there like a treasure chest with the lid wide open, and there are 5 names in particular that every single Vikings fan needs to know about immediately. Let us start with a name that absolutely should have been snapped up weeks ago, and the fact that he is still sitting out there unsigned is one of the great mysteries of this entire offseason. We are talking about Cisco, the 25-year-old safety out of Jacksonville who plays the game like he has a personal vendetta against every quarterback who dares to throw into his zip code. This man is a ball hawk in the truest sense of the word. Since the Jaguars drafted him back in 2021, Cisco has racked up 8 interceptions, 24 passes defensed, and forced 3 fumbles in just 63 games. Those are not the numbers of a backup. Those are the numbers of a starting safety who somehow keeps getting slept on by the entire league. Now, there is a reason he is still available, and it is not because he is bad at football. Last season, Cisco went down with a torn PCL that cut his year to just 8 games. That kind of injury spooks teams, especially teams that are handing out multi-year money and cannot afford to roll the dice on a guy who might not be fully healthy on day one. But for the Vikings, this is actually a perfect scenario. Minnesota is reportedly in the market for a safety who can provide immediate impact while they develop a long-term answer through the draft. Cisco comes in on a prove-it 1-year deal, gets healthy, reminds the entire league why he was considered one of the more exciting young safeties in the game, and provides the Vikings with a playmaker in the secondary who can actually change the outcome of games by taking the ball away from the other team. This is not a complicated equation. The Vikings should be on the phone right now. But wait, because the intrigue does not stop at the safety position. Let us talk about a wide receiver situation that has had Vikings fans losing sleep for the better part of 2 years now. Minnesota has made no secret of the fact that they want to add a big-bodied receiver who can go up and win contested catches, win jump balls in the red zone, and give their quarterback a legitimate aerial weapon that demands double coverage. And somehow, impossibly, the perfect candidate for that role is still sitting unsigned on the free agent market. His name is Jauan Jennings, and this man is built like a department store refrigerator at 6 feet 3 inches and 213 pounds of pure wide receiver. Here is what makes the Jennings situation so baffling. Last season, with the San Francisco 49ers, this guy was not a complimentary piece. He was not a slot receiver racking up 5-yard crossers. He was the team's leading receiver, 55 receptions, 643 yards, and 9 touchdowns. 9 touchdowns. He was thrust into the wide receiver 1 role due to injuries to other players on the roster, and he absolutely ran with it, proving that he belongs as a featured piece in a real NFL offense. He is 28 years old, which means he is entering what should be the prime years of his career, and he is just sitting there on the market like an overlooked entree on a menu that everyone somehow keeps scrolling past. The fit in Minnesota is almost too obvious to even need explaining. If J.J. McCarthy is under center, you want weapons that play to his strengths, and one of McCarthy's biggest strengths is his ability to throw the ball into tight windows with anticipation and drop dimes into the hands of big receivers who can go up and get it. Jennings is exactly that receiver. He plays through contact, he does not shy away from the middle of the field, and he is a legitimate red zone threat who could give the Vikings an entirely new dimension in their passing attack. The only reason this deal has not happened yet is likely a contract standoff where Jennings is asking for numbers that reflect his breakout season production, and teams are trying to pay him based on his pre-2025 resume. If the Vikings can find the middle ground on this one, they need to pull that trigger without hesitation. Now, let us get into a name that makes even more sense when you factor in what might be happening at the quarterback position this summer. If the reports and the rumors and the rumblings coming out of Minnesota are anywhere close to accurate, there is a very real possibility that Kyler Murray ends up under center for the Vikings in 2026. And if that happens, then the next name on this list becomes not just a smart signing, but an almost mandatory one. Christian Kirk, the wide receiver and former go-to target of Kyler Murray during their time together with the Arizona Cardinals, is still on the market, and he is everything the Vikings need in a slot receiver and number 3 option. The Murray-Kirk connection was genuinely one of the more dangerous pairings in the NFC during their prime years together in Arizona. These two had a rhythm, a chemistry, a shared football language that takes years to develop and cannot simply be recreated overnight with a new partner. Kirk was Murray's security blanket, his get-out-of-jail-free card on third down, the guy who somehow always seemed to be open when the play broke down and Murray had to extend and improvise. If you are bringing in Kyler Murray to save your season, why in the world would you not simultaneously reach out to one of the receivers he trusts most in this entire league? Yes, Kirk had a frustrating 2025 with the Houston Texans, where injuries limited his production, and he never quite found the consistency that made him such a valuable piece in Arizona. But here is what people seem to have forgotten. Kirk had a monster playoff performance last year, catching 8 balls for 144 yards and a touchdown when the lights were brightest and the stakes were highest. The talent is still there. The ability is still there. He is 29 years old, which means he is likely in the market for one of his final big contracts, which actually works in Minnesota's favor because Kirk is going to want to be in a situation where he can showcase his skills and maximize his value one last time, reuniting with Kyler Murray on a Vikings team with real Super Bowl aspirations. That is exactly the kind of situation that would appeal to a veteran receiver who wants to compete. Speaking of positions where the Vikings have urgent needs, let us have a conversation about the edge rusher situation, because this one is getting genuinely interesting depending on how things shake out with Jonathan Greenard. There have been persistent trade rumors swirling around Greenard, and if those rumors come to fruition and Minnesota moves him, they are going to need edge rusher depth in a hurry. Which brings us to DJ Wonnum, a name that Vikings fans will remember well from his time in Minnesota under coordinator Mike Flores, when he put together an impressive 8-sack season and looked like a legitimate piece of the defensive puzzle. Wonnum spent last season in Carolina and produced 4 sacks despite dealing with injury issues that limited his availability. Now he is back on the market at an age where he still has real production left in him, and his familiarity with the Vikings' defensive system under Flores is a genuinely significant factor that cannot be overlooked. NFL teams spend enormous amounts of time and money installing their defensive systems and teaching players the intricacies of scheme, technique, and assignment. Wonnum already knows this system. He already knows the terminology, the responsibilities, the nuances of how this defensive staff wants their edge rushers to play. That kind of institutional knowledge has real value, and on a one-year deal or a low-risk contract, bringing Wanham back as a depth piece and potentially a starter if Greenard is traded is exactly the kind of chess move that smart front offices make when they are building a roster intelligently rather than reactively. And then there is the offensive line situation, which has been the elephant in the room for this entire Vikings offseason conversation. With Garrett Bradbury gone and the center position essentially a gaping hole in the middle of Minnesota's offensive line, the Vikings cannot afford to roll into Week 1 of the 2026 season with an unproven commodity anchoring their protection. They have reportedly been interested in veteran free agent options, and the name that makes the most sense right now is Ethan Posich, the 30-year-old center who spent the last several seasons starting for the Cleveland Browns and has accumulated 97 career starts as a professional. Let us be clear about what Posich is and what he is not. He is not a Pro Bowl center. He is not going to make you forget about the best pivot men in the league. But you know what he is? He is a reliable, experienced professional who has started in over 90 NFL games and knows how to handle the responsibilities and communication demands of the center position at the highest level. He started 13 games for Cleveland last year. He is the kind of player who walks into a facility on day one, learns the playbook, understands what the coaching staff wants, and executes at a functional level without creating chaos or confusion for the players around him. The Vikings have been very vocal about the fact that they like the center prospects in this year's draft class, and they intend to take one, which means Posich is not coming to Minnesota to be a long-term answer. He is coming to be a bridge, a placeholder, a veteran presence that stabilizes the position while the organization develops the player they believe will eventually start there for the next 5 to 7 years. That is an incredibly important role, and it is one that a guy with Posich's experience is perfectly suited to fill. He gives you competence today while you build for tomorrow, which is honestly the smartest way to handle a position transition in the NFL. Now step back for a moment and look at the big picture of what this Vikings roster could look like if even half of these moves come together. You have Cisco providing ball-hawking playmaking ability in a secondary that desperately needs it. You have Joanne Jennings giving your offense a legitimate big-body target who can win in the red zone and on contested catches down the field. You have Christian Kirk reuniting with a potential new quarterback and giving that offense a trusted underneath option who has proven he can perform when it matters most. You have DJ Wanham bringing edge rush depth and defensive system familiarity at a price that makes financial sense. And you have Ethan Posich stabilizing the center position while the organization drafts a long-term solution. None of these moves individually are going to make headlines across the national sports media. None of them are going to get the kind of breathless coverage that a Max Crosby trade or a Davante Adams signing would generate. But that is exactly the point. The Vikings are building a roster the smart way, filling holes with experienced professionals on team-friendly deals that give the front office the flexibility to continue building through the draft and to keep their financial powder dry for extensions and future acquisitions. While other teams are mortgaging their futures on splashy signings that look great in March and fall apart by October, Minnesota is quietly assembling a collection of capable veterans and bargain finds that could make the difference between a playoff team and a pretender. The free agent market in Wave 3 is where general managers earn their reputations. It is where the organizations with real football intelligence separate themselves from the reactionary franchises that panic sign players and regret it come September. The Vikings have the opportunity right now to prove that they are among the sharpest organizations in the NFL by identifying and acquiring these available pieces before somebody else wakes up and realizes what they have been missing. The clock is ticking. The market will not stay this quiet forever. And in a conference that gets more competitive every single season, every single roster decision matters. Vikings fans, the moves are out there. The players are available. The fit is obvious. Now we just need the front office to make the calls, get the deals done, and add these pieces to what could be a very special 2026 roster if things break right. The purple and gold faithful have been patient through a quiet early free agency period, but the payoff could be coming sooner than anyone expects. If you are as fired up about these potential Vikings moves as we are, then hit that like button right now because it genuinely helps get this content in front of more Vikings fans who deserve to be in on this conversation. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and tell us which of these signings you want to see happen most, which ones you think are wishful thinking, and which players we might have missed that you think should be on this list. The Vikings fan community is one of the most passionate and knowledgeable in all of football, and your takes matter. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you never miss a single update as this offseason continues to develop, because there is a lot more to come and you do not want to be the last Vikings fan to know when the dominoes start to fall.
Hey
Skol
everyone,
Vikings,
I'm working to hit
let us get to
2,000
work.
subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.